Coming up tonight on YCU News. Today is the 150th anniversary of the Gettysburg Address. Governor Maggie Hassan and area business leaders discuss how to make businesses thrive in West Central New Hampshire. And a jewelry theft that happened north of Montpelier, Vermont, has valuable lessons for pawnbrokers. For more news, weather, and sports, it's time for YCU, your local view.
Now, your daily digest of the Dartmouth Lake Sunapee region and central Vermont. News, sports, weather, public affairs, and all that's happening in our area. The news on YCU, your local view.
Good evening, and welcome to this Tuesday edition of YCU News. I'm Rose Spillman. Today is the 150th anniversary, or sesquicentennial, of the Gettysburg Address. President Abraham Lincoln was the second speaker on that day, November 19, 1863. The first speaker on that day, 150 years ago, was renowned orator Edward Everett, says New England College history professor James Walsh. Yet it was Lincoln whose remarks stole the show. Walsh says today that Everett spoke for over 2 hours to the men and women gathered on that Pennsylvania field. Perhaps Everett warmed up the crowd, says Walsh. By contrast, Lincoln's concise speech is what is recalled today and many times since Lincoln spoke those hallowed 278 words. Lincoln and Hale were in Pennsylvania 150 years ago to dedicate the soldiers' national cemetery. The ceremony took place where nearly 5 months earlier, Union soldiers defeated Confederate armies at the Battle of Gettysburg. Many of us are familiar with parts of the speech. The first line of the address begins, 77 years ago, and its last line, that government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from the earth. What does it take to make a business thrive in West Central New Hampshire? That was the topic discussed this morning between Governor Maggie Hassan and area business leaders. Hassan met with at least 20 entrepreneurs and educators at River Valley Community College in Claremont. She wanted to hear the concerns of the invited guests. Hassan wanted to hear what private employers and public colleges need from the state. Today's discussion brought the frankness and honesty that Hassan sought. Manufacturing remains a job prospect in the state, even as it has become more technically advanced. 2- and 4-year post-secondary school graduates are needed to remain in the state. Indeed, the state needs to stop its young brain drain. Yet it's the thinking and communication skills that matter every day on the job. Some of today's guests told Hassan. Whalen Engineering CEO John Olson says the K-12 education system is broken. Students can no longer do basic arithmetic, he says. The state's public education system is not entirely at fault, though. Graphicast owner Vol Zanchuk says manufacturers and the business community need to be more active with schools and students. Companies need to let students know what skills and abilities they need to bring to the workplace. This needs to happen in middle school, agree educators and business leaders. Hassan agrees that the right kind of rigor must be established in the state's school system. The morning's business roundtable will help Hassan and her team as the state's goals and future budget plans loom.
We have a vibrant manufacturing sector that is eager to grow in New Hampshire. We need to make sure that we are doing all the things we can, especially with our education system, to prepare our young people to be a 21st century workforce. But how exciting it is that these wonderful business leaders were willing to come together today to talk about the future of our state.
Governor Hassan has set January 21st, 2014 as the date for a special election to fill the Executive Council District 1 seat that was held for many years by the Bath resident Ray Burton. Burton died last week of cancer. The election will affect residents registered voters from District 1. Of the state's 5 districts, District 1 is the largest geographically. District 1 is most associated with the North Country and the central part of New Hampshire. In a press release, Hassan says the primary election will be held on January 21st with the general election to follow. if necessary, on March 11th. March 11th is town meeting day in New Hampshire. Candidates interested in running for the seat have 4 days to file their intent to run. These dates are November 25th, 26th, 27th, and December 2nd. If only one candidate from each party files his or her intent, the March 11th election will not be necessary. A jewelry theft that happened north of Montpelier, Vermont, has valuable lessons for pawnbrokers throughout the state. The police case is from Vermont on November 12th. State police investigated a reported jewelry theft from a homeowner in Charlotte. That interview led to police naming a suspect, a contractor hired to work at the northern Vermont home. As a result, police charged 35-year-old Scott Michael Fish with grand larceny and the sale of stolen property. Police say Fish admitted to selling some of the items taken from the Charlotte home to a local second-hand dealer. Fish also told police that he gave other allegedly stolen items to another person to sell. Police checked on Fish's statements and went to the 2 second-hand dealers, which is where police learned that the dealers did not hold on to the pawned items as the law mandates. The items had already been sent out of state for some smelting. The Vermont State Police remind all second-hand dealers that they are required to keep all precious metal purchases for 10 days on site. These dealers also are required to keep accurate and detailed records of each sale. Meanwhile, Fish also is charged by police with being a fugitive from justice. He is awaiting extradition to Florida. There, Fish will face charges of probation, violation for theft, dealing in stolen property, and false verification to a pawnbroker. On another police note, a 2-car crash results when one driver loses his focus on the car ahead of him. Both vehicles involved were heavily damaged, state police report. However, both drivers were wearing seatbelts at the time of Monday's near 5 p.m. crash. A GMC Sierra, driven by 49-year-old Clayton Luce of White River Junction, Vermont, plowed into the rear of the Ford Escape, driven by 29-year-old Jessica Blaisdell of North Haverhill. Blaisdell and Luce were headed north on I-89 at New Hampshire and Vermont state line. Blaisdell braked her car in reaction to the car ahead of her. Luce turned his head to look at construction along I-89 southbound. When he turned back, he could not stop in time to avoid hitting Blaisdell's car. Blaisdell was later taken to Dartmouth Hitchcock Medical Center in Lebanon for medical treatment. The crash remains under investigation. Anyone with any information regarding this crash is asked to call Vermont State Police at 802-234-9933. Now Matt McDonald will have a look at our weather for the next 5 days, and he'll take a look at UNH ice hockey.
Thanks, Rose. Tomorrow we'll have a high of 40 degrees with lows in the 20s. Thursday we'll have highs in the mid-40s with a low of 26 degrees. Friday we'll have a high of 45 with lows in the 30s. Saturday will bring some showers with highs in the 40s and a low of 31 degrees. Sunday will cool down to highs in the upper 20s and lows around 11 degrees. Let's take a look now at last Saturday's UNH men's ice hockey game against Northeastern University. UNH senior Nick Sorkin scores this goal 29 seconds into their power play.
Next shot goes wide, rebound off the backboard, Sorkin scores! Nick Sorkin, second goal of the weekend.
Just seconds later, Casey Thrush scores for UNH, giving them a 2-0 advantage.
He's it back for a shot here, that's a stop by Wall, rebound, score, Thrush! The puck was underneath Wall's pad, he didn't know it was there.
Officials questioned the goal. After watching the replay several times, the 2 was finally put up on the board for UNH. With 17 minutes and 30 seconds left in the third quarter, Northeastern scores its only goal. UNH's Matt Willows scores during a power play.
Matt Willows, a power play goal after a tremendous...
UNH's fourth and final goal was accomplished by Grayson Downing near the end of the third quarter. He rebounds the shot and places it nicely into the goal. Congratulations, UNH Wildcats.
I'm Rose Spillman for YCU, your local view. Good night.